Hey guys, I'm here taking a look at a game that's a little bit more AAA than most of the stuff I look at. This is the demo for FIFA Street, which is actually out on Xbox Live right now and PSN as well, the demo at least. The actual game itself is coming out a little bit later in March, and you might be thinking, Northernlion, you usually play indie stuff, and definitely not sports stuff at the very least. Well, you may not know, but I'm actually a huge fan of EA's FIFA series. Pretty much pick that game up, I would say maybe once every 2 years, not every year, that would be ridiculous. So I was really actually looking forward to FIFA Street. I was also a big fan of the NBA Street series back when that was coming out. Like NBA Street Volume 2 was maybe my favorite basketball game of all time, next to like the NBA Jam series. So yeah, I kind of got a little bit of a personal connection to the series, and I thought, you know, why not check out the demo and make a video of it, give it a little bit of publicity if it's good, or bad publicity if it's bad, I suppose. I'm going to be playing as Manchester City here against the Adidas All-Stars. I am a dirty, dirty blue Manchester City supporter. And I know that makes me a horrible person. I'd appreciate it if you could keep it civil in the comments, but anyway. So we're going to get started here, and you'll immediately notice that this game is well different from your standard soccer game. This is definitely, I made the NBA Jam comparison earlier, but this is basically NBA Jam for soccer, so it's much more focused on style, and it generally tends to be a much more high-scoring game as opposed to, you know, your standard FIFA game, which, you know, if it's being a good simulation, which it actually is a very good simulation in my opinion, usually you end up with very low-scoring games, a lot of 0-0 draws, which is even 0-0 for those of you who aren't a fan of the soccer numbering system. But anyway, essentially the way you play this game is you stop saying essentially so much, and you just use A to pass, B to shoot, and then, you know, right thumbstick in conjunction with some of the trigger buttons to do tricks. And this game kind of feels like you're just flicking the right stick down, like you just saw me doing right there, just flicking the right stick randomly and you'll get past your opponents. And this is both a good thing and a bad thing. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. One of the things you should note if you're confused about like the arena we're playing in right now, this is based on like indoor soccer rules. So there's a cage set up and you can like bounce it off the walls, and the nets are much smaller. So, you know, you generally don't tend to see as much like heading in this because you're not going to score, you know, with a header at like 2 feet off the ground. Although, you know, I suppose it's possible. You can also kick the ball out of bounds, in which case you get a free kick a lot of the time. So this is very much like style over simulation. It's more about things looking cool than actually like good soccer or football tactics. I'm going to say soccer for the duration of the video, but anyway. And it's kind of fun in its own way. Again, this is just a demo, so I can't really comment on how the full game is going to be, but it feels satisfying, but my major complaint is that it does feel a little bit flimsy. Like, I have this problem with any game that uses the right analog stick for pretty fine control. I generally just feel like I'll get the ball and I'll get the stick and press the buttons and like basically flick them around randomly trying to do tricks, and it'll just do something. It kind of feels like I've run up to somebody, flick the right stick, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I have a pretty good chance of getting by them. Like the elastico chop there or the flip flap, I'm just kind of moving the analog stick around randomly and hoping for the best. And maybe that was a bad strategy there to take my keeper so far out of the net, especially playing against Lionel Messi, the greatest of all time. But so far it's working out fairly well, though this has been a low-scoring game, not necessarily lending credence to my opinion that these games are generally more high-scoring. But it really does remind me more of like an NBA Jam style. That was actually a pretty solid goal there. Now, time to talk about a little bit about complaints. I've mentioned that, you know, having no control or feeling like I don't have a lot of control is a serious problem. And really, that's the thing that kind of keeps me from probably purchasing this game. I don't think I'm going to be picking this up, at least not at full price. And it's a shame because it really does have a good engine. It runs pretty much on the same engine as FIFA, it feels like, and that engine is basically perfect at this point. I mean, I hesitate to say that you have limited control in this game because I know people are going to eventually get this and like, check out this trick montage that I did. It's amazing. You're an idiot. This game controls fantastically. But I disagree, and I think for people who are just getting into it, it's not going to be accessible. It just kind of feels like you don't get any flow. You're just stringing random tricks together. It's also one of those things where I feel like if you're not a soccer fan, this game isn't going to appeal to you. Like, if you're not a fan of NBA Street was still awesome because it was so cartoony, and this one takes almost more of a simulation approach to it. Like NBA Street, you could do out-of-this-world stuff that probably was not possible with real-world physics. This, and the producer of this game has gone on record as saying, basically, we're going to keep this more down to its, like soccer's actual roots, things you can actually do, so there won't be people, like, making a jump over a full-sized man's head to deke around them. And I actually think that might kind of be holding them back. I mean, I can understand why that's good from a design perspective, or you could think that that's good from a design perspective, but I don't think it's going to bring in casual fans. I would really like to see almost like a FIFA version of Mario Superstars Super Strikers Charged. I can't remember. I haven't played it, but more of that arcadey style. This feels like an arcade light, and I would really prefer like more of an NBA Jam style, where you score 3 goals in a row and the ball lights on fire, and you can like tear people's heads off, almost like a soccer version of NFL Blitz. I think that would go a long way towards bringing people who think the sport is boring into it, and even if they don't watch regular soccer after playing the game, at least they got a little bit more appreciation for it. That being said, this game is definitely competent, but we're getting into like my second complaint, and I hesitate because this is starting to sound like kind of a negative critique of the game that hasn't even come out yet. I'm only playing the free like one mode demo that's out on Xbox Live. But if this is the core gameplay, I really don't think that $50 is the right price point for it. I mean, I imagine that there's a ton of expenses that go into building a game like this. I mean, least of which is going to be getting all those licenses for the leagues and like porting the players over. But I assume you already have that pretty much taken care of with your like flagship FIFA franchise. I would love to see this as more of like a downloadable title, like a $10 title. As far as I know, this is coming out full price, and if so, that's going to be kind of cost prohibitive, I think, for a lot of people, considering this doesn't nearly or offer nearly the depth of the actual FIFA franchise or any other like legitimate sports franchise for that matter. It's much more of an arcadey style. And I mean, 5 years ago, you could get away selling a game like this for $50 because there wasn't really a distribution platform where you could put out games with this kind of quality assets at a more reasonable price. But I think if they put this out at like AAA price tag, they're probably going to get sales because EA Sports games almost always get sales. But I would really rather prefer this come out on Xbox Live and PSN, not just because it's going to be like $40 cheaper, potentially, I guess, $50 cheaper for the average consumer, but also because I think that's just a much better model for it. I mean, tone things down a little bit. EA experimented with the free-to-play stuff with EA FIFA Online, which FIFA Online 2 is apparently coming out soon. Why not try that with FIFA Street as well? It's kind of like a niche franchise. Could be worth an experiment, let's just put it that way. But anyway, let's get back to the game. If you see me doing all these tricks and you think like I'm an expert FIFA Street player, again, I am just mashing the right analog stick. And as much as I complain about that, it is really satisfying to like run up to a defender and then just flick the analog stick, and what you think is going to do something awesome, and then it actually does do something awesome. It's also awesome to take, Joe Hart, your keeper here, and then just run him down the length of the pitch there. I don't even know what you call it in single soccer, but obviously Messi is going to punish us for that. But at 4-2, I feel like we are probably going to be pretty safe. So far, the AI seems pretty easy. But again, I do have pretty not extensive, but a moderate experience with the FIFA franchise. So the fundamentals of it are pretty normal, or pretty routine to me. I will say it's interesting that sometimes you'll be running and you'll just be like, okay, I want to do a pass. I want to do a straightforward, vanilla, 1950s meat and potatoes pass from my defender to one of the forwards up there, and he does like a sweet like back heel forward pass. I don't know. Like it's like I was just trying to do a cross there, and he did like a, what do they call that? Rabona. Anyway. So there's the first game done. Demo has 3-minute halves, just 2 3-minute halves, and I think that's a pretty good time for this type of game. You definitely don't want to be playing like a full 90-minute simulation. One thing I haven't mentioned, one of the fundamentals, you might be seeing when you do something cool, they actually give you style points. Well, I don't want to go to the instant replay tools instructions here. Just wait a second. Although the presentation with this game, as it is in pretty much all of EA Sports games, is top-notch. Really no complaints about that. You get style points for doing certain things, but I can never seem to like chain together enough tricks to get a lot of style points. Whoa, is that a swastika in the center of the arena? I mean, it's clearly a windmill, but you gotta admit, it kind of looks like it. It's not just my perverted mind, is it? Anyway, we'll play a second game here, and then we'll call it quits. Because, I mean, again, for all of the criticisms that I'm levying against this game, take them with a grain of salt, because it is going to come out, and then you can actually read reviews for yourself. But let's put it this way, the demo was not that encouraging to me, but also not that discouraging. But I actually tweeted about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours ago, I was like, playing the FIFA Street demo basically feels just like flick right analog stick and watch something cool happen. And then I got a bunch of tweets that were like, funny, that's how I felt about the SSX demo. So apparently, EA Sports returning to its kind of EA Sports. Whoa, that was kind of cool right there. EA Sports returning to its EA Sports big kind of style from the mid 2000s is making the same. I'm not going to say necessarily mistakes, but a lot of people are noticing the same kind of problem with it. Let's put it that way. I would love it if it just felt like I had a little bit more control, as cool as this stuff is. And I would also love it if it was more off the wall. Again, like, I don't know, your shoe turns into like a rocket boot and you can jump up and do a bicycle kick like 500 feet in the air. I think that would be awesome. But, you know, some of the leagues or players might have a problem with their license being in the game, especially when it's, like, modeled so well. Like if Lionel Messi here just got his head chopped off by a renegade ball or something. It's always the problem they had with NFL Blitz. I guess that's why late hits didn't make it into the new version. That's another EA joint, isn't it? Wow. Again, NFL Blitz came out Xbox Live Arcade and PSN, so I don't understand why this one couldn't have gotten the same thing. It's kind of a neat pass. We'll probably score here. I'm feeling like I can just kind of duck in and we'll do some juggling at the back first. Or maybe every time I do some juggling, I just give the ball away, I feel like. But I got great possession right now, as if that matters. That should be in. What can I say? Michael Neuer? Doing a very good job in net. Shouldn't mention the players' names too much. It's going to highlight my Canadian accents for what is a very non-Canadian game for the most part. Quality cross there. Almost put it into the audience. The funny thing about the style points is that the computer always beats me when it comes... Oh, that should be in. When it comes to the style points. To the point where sometimes I will just like play FIFA style and I'll just do like straightforward, you know, like a counter maneuver, score a very easy, very sensible goal, and then the crowd won't even applaud. Like they don't even care. It's like, oh, whatever. You didn't do like a 360 bumfuck spike into the earth. We came here to see that, not to see pro players having any fun. Again, we'll do Joe Hart, killer pass, and an easy goal. And there, see, the audience doesn't even care. They were almost downright booing me there. 63 style points? That's not enough. I paid $5 to see this. I can't get over that semi-swastika looking thing in the center there. But anyway, I mean, to a certain extent, I can understand, like I said, why this is going to be a full-price game. I mean, you got all the teams. You don't have every league, like you don't have the Korean league or the Japanese league or anything, which obviously FIFA has. You got a wide selection of the most popular players in the game. Great graphics. I checked out the soundtrack, and a lot of it is definitely like AAA stuff. Stuff you would expect from like an EA Sports regular release. But if this is like the core of the gameplay, I just don't know if this has enough to be, you know, MSRP $59.99. Maybe they'll release it a little bit more budget titled. Anyway, let's just, for our last half here, let's just try to enjoy ourselves. I'm going to try to do as much juggling as I can. And again, 1-1 at the half is kind of atypical. Like, I know I've mentioned that this scoring is usually higher in this game, and I've probably spent about 2 hours with the demo so far, so don't take it like this is my first game. I'm just having trouble getting used to the tricks here, although Joe Hart is apparently, you know, the greatest footballer of all time. What was I going to say? I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh, on the note of scoring. Again, that was kind of a cool roll. And the audience found it in their hearts to cheer for me, which was actually nice for once. Yeah, like 2-1 is not a typical scoreline for me in this game. Usually games end like 6-3 or 6-4. But even the last one was only like 4-2. All right, now we're starting to tear into it. How much time do we have left? 2:09. I have a feeling that these guys are not going to be able to come back. The other thing I'll mention that I really don't like is that this Adidas All-Star team that I'm playing against right now, the one with like Robin and Messi, is, as far as I know, according to Wikipedia, a pre-order bonus, which is a really, really dick move. And I'm not a fan of when games give you kind of exclusive pre-order bonuses just for putting $10 down a couple of weeks in advance. But I guess that's kind of the state of the industry, at least when it comes to AAA games these days. At least they're not holding out like Manchester United or something. Like if you want to get Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Barcelona, you got to pre-order this game. So it's kind of, you could kind of think of it two ways. One of them is that they're holding back content. The other one is maybe they created this special content just for pre-orders. And if like there wasn't a pre-order bonus, then it just wouldn't be in the game. I mean, that's almost certainly not the case. But if I was working marketing at EA Sports, that's probably the spin that I would put on it. Anyway, as we wind down here, it actually is kind of a close game. If you end up drawing after 6 minutes, you go to you go to golden goal, right? So it's not like typical injury time where it's not first goal wins. In this, it actually is first goal wins, which is kind of a cool way of emphasizing the more arcadey aspect of it. But I don't think we're going to get there because apparently I'm just tearing it up with Aguero right now. Again, that's a very sensible goal, and it's the kind of goal that I feel like doesn't fit into this game. Like, wouldn't it be so much better if I like took a huge whack at that and it was just a screamer? It had like fireworks coming off the back of it. Someone give me a job working at EA Sports. I know what the people want. Well, actually, maybe the people don't want that, but maybe people who aren't particularly big fans of football will want that. Let's put it that way. And it's funny because the AI is 10 times better than me at doing tricks, but they just can't seem to put the ball in the net. Like, Robin in particular usually gets like 1,500 style points a game, whereas Aguero will get like 300 maybe. And that's usually just for me like juggling for 20 minutes while I try to figure out what the heck to do. But anyways, we wind down here. Maybe, oh, geez, another easy goal. That wasn't Aguero I was scoring with. What am I talking about? That was David Silva. Again, in danger of outing myself as a soccer poser. To those of you who might be fans of the sport, I've got a relatively wide European audience. Not to say that, North Americans are not soccer fans, but definitely, when you tell people you like soccer in North America, it's like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. It's probably what, if you're in the United States, that must be like telling someone you're a fan of ice hockey. Well, that's what I felt like when I told people that in Korea. But anyway, actually, I thought that was going to be a goal. That's going to do it for our look at FIFA Street. Kind of middling opinion so far, but I'm going to reserve judgment for when it actually comes out. As a full-price release, I'm not really convinced that this is going to be worth my time or money, even as a pretty big fan of both soccer and the EA FIFA franchise in general. But it's kind of a nice diversion, I guess. Would really love to see it as an arcade title, though. Thanks for watching, guys.